So tell us about yourself.
My name's Doreen. I am from Fiji Islands, and I grew up with my grandparents mostly, they are Muslims. In Fiji, the three major religions are Hindu and Muslim, and there's this Christianity. So growing up, I spent some time with the Muslim priest. He was teaching me the Urdu language and the Muslim religion. And then after a while, we moved to the city area, and then I kind of disconnected with my grandparents because we were living an hour drive away. My mom's a Muslim, my dad's a Hindu. So when we moved to the city area, I was more connected with my dad's family, and I was probably around 11 years old when I started getting into the Hindu religion. That means I do they call it puja, and I was very devoted. So I would worship the Hindu god. He's called Shiva. He's considered the highest of all gods, and he's the one who has the snake around his head. So, and if you know Hinduism, there's certain days you worship each god. So for me, it was Monday. So on Sunday, I wouldn't eat meat because that's a requirement. And Monday morning, I'd wake up, pour water all over myself, 6 in the morning, and worship the sun and the god, the snake god, Shiva. His statue was just a stone, so you require white flowers and all that in order to worship him, to do your puja. And I would do all that. So I kind of, growing up as a little girl, I've experienced the Muslim religion. I've also experienced the Hinduism, and like I said, I was very devoted. Every Friday I would pray to the money god, who's called Lakshmi, and then you don't eat meat when you do your puja. Until like I was 14 years old, probably 14, 15, I used to be a very devoted Hindu.
How did Christianity come into the picture?
About when I was 15 years old in high school, things started happening in our family and our life. And when I say things, not good things, I got sick a lot. I was losing a lot of blood. I would go to school and I would fall asleep, and that was an important year of school, because if you don't pass that class, you don't go into the next class. And I was 15, and if I didn't, that means my career was over, my education life was over, and you can't go much further with education, right? So that was important to me, and I had 3 brothers, and growing up with them, it's not that they treated me badly, but there's always this void in my life. There was always this emptiness. I was always alone. I was very much into books and stuff. I read a lot because I was spending a lot of time alone. There's always this emptiness and this void which I couldn't put a finger on why it was there. With everything that was going on, me being sick, and also at that time my eldest brother, he was very sick. He was actually possessed. In Fiji, in the Hindu religion, so when something like that happens, it's very common to go see a witch doctor. So that's the first step people usually take when something like that happens, is you go see a witch doctor, which my parents did because their intentions were good, right? With good intentions they did, and they spent a lot of money on my brother, just trying to get him better. And he was diagnosed with depression as well. We took him to the hospitals as well. I remember at one point, I wasn't there, I heard stories from the people who were there, is they poked like little tridents across him, across his mouth, across his face, and he was crying. But they said, oh, it's not him, it's the devil that's crying. But no, he was hurting. So stuff like that I went through. And in your life, you begin to question a lot of things when you see all that happening. And I wasn't getting better. I was very skinny. I had lost a lot of weight. I couldn't focus in school, and things were not. There was so much chaos in our house. And at that point, my second eldest brother asked me, "It's like, you've tried everything. Why don't you try coming to church?" And at that point, it wasn't like I was looking for truth or looking for religion to say, but I just wanted to get better. I was at the point of desperation where I would do anything to get healed, to get better. I remember the first Sunday so clear. I went to church. The first thing that I noticed, and I still remember, is everyone was so welcoming. I felt this warmth, my heart warmed up, and I felt welcomed. I felt wanted. I felt like I belonged. And I went to church with my aunt, and I found a few of my friends from school were going to church. So that was because, like I said, I was always alone. I was a loner. I spent a lot of time by myself. So that was again a thing for me that helped me focus better. And the pastor came, introduced himself, and I went to church, and I came back feeling happy. Like that Sunday, I came back home feeling happy, feeling like something's changed, and there was a change, and I probably didn't recognize it at that moment in time, but a change had started in my life. And every Sunday I'd look forward to going to church, and I went to church every Sunday from there on, and eventually my sickness got healed. I got better physically, and I got better emotionally as well. Emotionally meaning I felt loved, I felt wanted, I felt like there was a hope. That void that I was telling you about, that emptiness that I felt, it started to get healed. So it wasn't only the physical healing that I experienced, it was emotional healing. And that's the beauty of Christianity, or the beauty of Jesus and our God, is He knows what you need better than I know what I need. And I had that emotional healing need. I had that need to feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel like I belonged. And that's exactly what I got from going to church or accepting Jesus. And a few months into it, I was committed. I absolutely loved it. So I got baptized, and I haven't looked back from there on. Not to say that there hasn't been setbacks in my life. Yes, there has been a lot of setbacks. There has been a lot of brokenness. But if you ask me why still choose Jesus, it's because in the middle of chaos, when everything is falling apart and the world is falling apart and people are hopeless and they're telling you otherwise, you still have that peace that surpasses all understanding. That you still have that peace that no matter what may happen, He's not going to leave, He's not going to forsake. And I always said there has been a lot of ups and downs in my life personally, but the one thing that has remained constant from that 15-20 years ago till now is the love of God for me and His faithfulness in my life. So yes, sometimes things may not work out, but one thing that I know that I can surely rely and trust on is God's love for me, and that He will never leave me. It's not just something that I know, it's something I've experienced. And once you taste that love, once you experience it, you never would want to let go.
From your personal experience, why have you continued with Christianity?
Okay, so growing up as a Muslim and trying the Hindu religion, and then coming to accept Jesus, which is not a religion, it's a relationship. And a very common phrase growing up back home is, when you tell people, oh, I'm a Christian or I'm a Hindu or a Muslim, they'll always tell you, oh, there's just, all gods are one. That's a very common phrase, right? And that I kind of question too, but like I said, Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. And the reason I've not given up on God is because religion requires works. And having experienced both, you have to be, in my personal experience, you have to be a certain way, you have to do certain things. Like for example, like I said, growing up as a Hindu, I had to wake up in the morning, go pour water over myself, make sure I don't eat meat the day before or that very day. And there's certain ways you do those worship rituals. You can't just do it anyhow. You have to be clean, you have to make sure that you do it a certain way. Same thing with the Muslims. So certain works required for you to do in order to be accepted. Because growing up, I was told, oh, if you make one mistake, the gods are going to get mad at you and you're going to get punished, right? There's so many things that happen in so many people's life, and they said, oh, it's because they did their puja wrong, or they did some kind of mistake in their puja. And that was also very intimidating, because you're always so concerned, what if I'm not doing this right? Especially when you're younger, right? And when I came to came to accept Jesus, one of the very few first things that the pastor said or preached about was, he accepts you just the way you are. That was like an eye-opener. It's like, what? I don't have to be a certain way? And he said, you can pray wherever you are. I can be walking and praying. I can be driving and praying. I can be anywhere. I can pray and I call out to his name and I have access to it. So that was like different. There was no works required. There was no pressure. There was this openness that I can come talk to Jesus whenever I want. I can pray to him just like I'm talking to you. There was no special words required. There was no special things required. All you have to do is come with your heart, have an open heart, open up your heart too. So that, I think I kind of craved, right? You kind of want to have, and like I said, that's why Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship, because you're connecting with your Savior, you're connecting with God, right? You're talking to him. There's a relationship that gets built, and there's openness, there is forgiveness. And this love that he gives me, it's not something I did to deserve it. That was the biggest thing. It was undeserving, because there was nothing I did in my life to deserve that, right? To deserve Jesus coming and dying for me on the cross, to deserve to be loved the way he loved me. His love, that was unconditional. And I never knew that, because there was always conditions, right? Into religion, there's always conditions. You have to be a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to do certain things. Whereas when I came to church and understood Jesus and built a relationship with this, there was no expectations. The only expectation is you have faith and you open up your heart, and he does that. He meets you where you are. So if I've hit rock bottom, he'll meet me at rock bottom. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like, that's the God, that's like the definition of love, unconditional love. And that's what I experienced knowing Jesus. That's what I experienced in my life. The things that I've gone through in my life is I've experienced that unconditional love, that even if I made a mistake, he forgives and he loves and he remembers my sins no more, which I don't think any religion out there, let it be Hinduism, Muslim, or any other religion, that offers that, because there's so much works involved, right? So that takes the pressure off you and then just lets you enjoy the relationship you have with your Savior.
How does your day-to-day life look like now as a Christian, and how do you face struggles?
So I think there's this thing where people think that once you accept Jesus and you become a Christian, all your struggles go away and it's a bed of roses. It's anything but a bed of roses. And I'm talking this through personal experiences. And the Bible never promises that, you won't face struggles. It actually says that in this world you will face tribulation, but behold, I have overcome this world. So yes, anyone who knows me personally or knows me closely knows that I have been through a lot of struggles. I've been through a lot of things in my life. There has been a lot of brokenness. There has been a lot of things that have happened. But like I've said before too, that nothing that has happened in my life has ever made me question that I don't want to follow Jesus. Yes, there's struggles on a daily basis. Things happen, and it's a decision that I make every day that, come what may, he is the God. And it all comes down to tasting and seeing how good he is, because he's the same God who's with you when he blesses you. He's the same God who is there when you face struggles. He never for a minute leaves you. There are silent moments, there are silent seasons where he's quiet, but he's always also working in you. And a very good example is like this March, COVID happened, everything went down. I had to go back home for my brother's funeral. Very hard time for my family to overcome. Coming back, I wasn't even back home for 10 days, and I had to come back and spending 13 hours in Seattle and then coming home and quarantining myself. One of the hardest things I've done in a while, and very challenging. And at that moment, it had been so easy to give up, right, or to question. It wasn't to say I wasn't struggling. I was struggling emotionally. I was grieving. I was hurt. I had a lot of questions. But one thing, like I said before, the peace that surpasses all understanding, that peace of God was in my heart. That yes, everything seemed like it's falling apart. There's so many questions. Spending time alone is hard. I never knew that. When you can't even go for a coffee drive, you can't even step out of your house and you're inside your house, it's not easy. There's so many struggles, and especially when you're grieving too, there's so many struggles. But the presence of God, the protection of God has been there. When you need it the most, what you need the most, God gives it to you. I had people who were there for me, and that's God puts those people in your life at the right time, at the right moment. People will say what God has intended them to say to you, and things that it's like, I was thinking that, but I never had the courage to say it. And things like that happen where someone will encourage you with what you want to hear at that moment in time, without them even knowing that you wanted to hear them. But that's the beauty of it, right? That's how God works. He works in mysterious ways. He uses people, he uses his word. And every time, I remember one night I couldn't sleep, and I was just opening random scriptures in the Bible. And I went from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from the book of Psalms to the book of Isaiah and Matthew, Mark. It talked about strength. And that's what I needed at that moment in time. A reminder that it's not my strength, it's his strength. And that encouraged me. And that's why every day I choose to follow Jesus. I choose to trust him regardless of what's going on in this world, because there's so much uncertainty in this world. There's so much, especially in this time like this, so much is going on. And to have that joy and that peace regardless of what's going around, there's no other way to explain it. Like, people will be questioning, how are you keeping up with it? Like, how did you cope with it? I don't know how you cope with it. I don't even have an answer except for to say that it's him. There's no other way I can explain it, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know what would happen to me, honestly, with everything that I've gone through. There's so much things that I've gone through, and he's only to use the things that have gone wrong in your life and to use it to make you a better person and to use it as a blessing. That's what our God specializes in, right? Like, yes, things would go wrong, but you'll always come out as a victor. And we always come out as victorious, not defeated. You'll come out stronger than before.
Hearing that Jesus has impacted your life, has it also impacted your family?
Yes, so like I said before, my brother was sick, and we took him to the witch doctor, and he was diagnosed with depression, and he was evil possessed. There was a lot of prayer that happened for him, hours and hours of prayer. A lot of crusades happened for him to get better, and he did get better. He is not possessed anymore. He has schizophrenia, but he can go to work. He can focus on a lot of things and function a lot better. Thankful to God for that. My dad, who had left us when we were younger, he was missing in the picture for 4 years. And every night we'd go to bed and pray to Allah. My mom would teach us this, pray to Allah that dad would come back home. And every night we'd go for 4 years, we did that. Nothing happened. And when my second eldest brother David started going to church, my dad came back home. That's one of the first things that happened when David started going to church. And secondly, my mom, who's a Muslim, she'd always say, you guys can go to church. But she said, I'll never come to church. I'll never accept Jesus. When she got married to my dad, she never really followed the Hindu religion. She always did her own thing. But eventually, God worked in her life, and she accepted Jesus. And she's so strong now. She's the glue that holds it together. She, come what may, she's a strong woman. Now, after years of praying, my dad is coming to accept Jesus. He still needs a lot of work done in his life, but he's on the right track. So I'm thankful for all the things that has happened in my family and that's going to happen. And in the midst of chaos, God is still there and he still works.
With all the things happening now around the world, what message would you like for people to hear?
From what I have gone through in my life and what's going on in this life with so much things that is uncertain, and the past few years of my life, a lot of uncertain things have happened and I didn't know what to do, where to go, or I had to start from scratch. One thing I can say that you can never go wrong on is putting your trust in Jesus. If you're having doubts, if you're not sure, it's okay. That's a good starting point too. I would want to say that all you gotta do is call out to him, and he will meet you where you are. Even if you're at your rock bottom, he'll meet you there. If you're at your high, he will meet you there. There is no conditions. He loves you just the way you are. Come to him if you are seeking answers. It's okay. If there are doubts, it's okay. But bring all the doubts, all the fears, everything, all that anxiety. There's so much anxiety happening right now, right? Come to him with that anxiety. Bring all that mess to him, and he has an answer for you. I'm not gonna say that everything's gonna magically disappear, but all I wanna say is you will find that joy and that your peace that you've been seeking in this world, which you will never find, because there's a void in there that only he can fulfill. My name is Doreen, and I have found my home in Jesus.